So Filip Miucin is back, and I'm not saying back in the news because there hasn't really been a new controversy, but Filip Miucin is back in so much that he has released a new video. It's about a Bluetooth dongle that he claims is the best Bluetooth dongle for Switch, and maybe it is. I guess I don't know. The only Bluetooth dongle I have, I definitely would not consider the best for Switch. But my issue isn't that he's creating content again, because I told you guys back during the original Filip Miucin situation that he would create content again. Now, what was that situation? Well, for those who might not remember or didn't pay any attention, Filip Miucin is the now former employee at IGN who was a Nintendo YouTube content creator who plagiarized a review and other pieces at IGN and also plagiarized several videos on his own channel before he got hired and wasn't busted until Boomstick Gaming called him out, and then the internet did what it did, dug into all of his articles, dug into all of his reviews, dug into all of his videos, and discovered many other instances of plagiarism. And in the wake of this, Filip Miucin did make a response video at one point that some people called an apology, but he never called it an apology video, and he never actually apologized in the video for anything. He made excuses. Things like, the way I handled my review and did my research is the same way everybody in the industry handles reviews and research. And I could say that confidently because I was in the industry with IGN. And then he tried throwing Kotaku under the bus because they dug up other instances of plagiarism on his YouTube channel. And Jason Schreier threw him under the bus. And he told him that he dared the internet to keep digging and keep trying. They did, and they discovered more and more videos of his that happened to feature plagiarized content. Not a good situation. You don't challenge the internet because the internet's batting 1,000. It practically never gets it wrong. That being said, Filip Miucin's back. And I mentioned back then that he would come back to YouTube someday because YouTube's forgiving. He's got plenty of fans that are instantly going to forgive him because they just like Filip as a person. They like his editing. It's the same reason like with me. If I make a grave mistake, there's still going to be certain fans that are going to continue to watch my content because they just really like my content and they don't want to stop watching because of one major mistake, even though this was one major repeated mistake that showed he lacked integrity and understanding of what plagiarism actually is. That being said, I have some advice for you, Filip. And before I get to that advice, I have to address the elephant in the room, and that is all of you out there that are down in the comments right now, clicking, tapping away. Hey, stop talking about him. You're doing it for the views. Well, I mean, you're not wrong. And I'm not saying that because I think this video is going to blow up or anything. I think it's a very interesting story. That's why I'm talking about it. And I think what's happening right now and how Filip returned is not the greatest. So here's the thing. I believe in second chances on YouTube, in life, in anything. Second chances are important. I think there is always an ability to learn from past mistakes, to avoid making them in the future, to allow you to continue to do something you love. Filip is one of the best video editors on YouTube. Assuming that he edits his own videos, I don't know if he actually does. I don't have any evidence to prove that he edits his own videos, but assuming he edits his own videos, he is probably one of the best video editors on YouTube. He makes my videos look like gutter trash being made in a garage somewhere with equipment from the 90s. His editing level is at a level that I could only dream of attaining. I don't necessarily always agree with his music choices and background stuff, but just the actual act of video editing, I mean, he'll hold up a product and he'll have like lines come up from the product and pop up and give extra detail. Like that's why people were attracted to his content in the first place, because he's such a good video editor. I don't actually like his style of content. As an example, with the Bluetooth dongle video he recently released, it basically just described the Bluetooth dongle. It almost felt like an advertisement for the Bluetooth dongle. And now I don't know if he was sent the product for free and he was supposed to talk about it. I didn't check to see if he's got affiliate links, so he's trying to make money off of it, or whatever the case may be. None of that I think is wrong as long as you admit to it and you fully say, hey, like these are affiliate links, I make money off of it, or like this product was sent to me for free by this company. Again, he might have bought it himself and just wanted to talk about it. That happens. So I don't want to dive too deep down that hole, because if you happen to really like that kind of content, you just like seeing the product and having it described to you, fine, cool. But what I want to dive into is his apology, because he did apologize. Believe it or not, he made his first official apology. He didn't really do it in the video. He did it in the pinned comment on his video. Here is what that apology stated. Hey everyone. In the past several weeks, I have learned a multitude of hard lessons that continue to remind me of my missteps and the steps that I need to take to make things right. I would like you to know how truly sorry I am. I apologize to everyone personally affected, as well as the entire gaming community. From here on out, I will do everything in my power to make things right. I will continue to work on being a better person every day and hope that that will be reflected in my actions to come. Thank you, Filip. That apology to me felt like something a politician would say, if I'm being completely honest. It essentially admits no guilt, but still openly apologizes to everyone involved. And I don't think that's how he should personally approach this. He's not running for office where he doesn't want to lose current supporters but gain people who used to support him back. He has a massive public reception problem. He's only got a 45% like to dislike ratio on his recent video. And just as a human being, I don't want to see Filip continue to be attacked. And for him to have a true second chance, it would involve him quelling that storm of the internet that isn't going to forget the egregious mistakes that Filip Miucin made repeatedly. So my thing is, Filip Miucin needs to openly talk about this. If he doesn't want to do it on his channel, which I don't think it would actually be advantageous for him to make a video addressing things, I think he needs to talk to someone. In fact, I think who he needs to reach out to is the very person that he targeted in his quote-unquote apology video last time, and that would be Jason Schreier of Kotaku. Jason Schreier has reached out to him on multiple occasions to try to get him to come on a podcast or just do an interview. I think Filip Miucin needs to reach out. Like, Filip, if you are watching this, reach out to Jason Schreier, as much as it might pain you. He is a well-respected person in this industry, and let him conduct an interview with you and be honest in that interview. Explain why you didn't think what you did was plagiarism, and now maybe what you've learned about the process and why you recognize it is plagiarism now. And I think that's the biggest issue the internet's going to have with you in your content moving forward, as you've never openly admitted that you plagiarized. Instead, you said everybody does it and threw the whole industry under the bus. People aren't going to forgive you for that, and they're not going to let you have this second chance without consistently being chastised for the rest of your career on YouTube if you don't address these points. And now I understand it's possible you can't talk about the IGN stuff directly because there could be some legal stuff in the works there. I don't know if IGN is trying to get some of your paychecks back for work they thought you were doing that was your own, or what's happening behind the scenes with IGN. I understand if something's happening that you can't talk about that, and maybe that was why you had to take down that video in the first place, not because it was a bad look, but because there's ongoing stuff with IGN behind the scenes, fine. But you know what you can talk about? Your numerous occasions of plagiarism you had on your YouTube channel. Obviously, the biggest one being your FIFA review last year, where you really need to address that situation as well. And that does not involve IGN. You could talk about that stuff because none of that content has anything to do with them. And I understand you might be reluctant to admit that you plagiarized because it actually breaks YouTube's terms of service and could lead to your channel being shut down. Technically, when you were copyright striking other people for using clips from your quote-unquote apology video, that was also technically breaking YouTube's terms of service because the licensing you used on that video allowed for free reuse of that video. So yes, people could actually re-upload the entire video, and that's well within their rights because you didn't select the correct copyright on that video. So technically you broke YouTube's terms of service twice, and if people want to report you and YouTube cares enough, they could shut down your channel. And I don't even want to see that happen. I think you deserve a second chance if you properly address the situation. I think that's the hard part here is you released a blanket apology and a pinned comment on your recent video. Not only are most people not going to see that apology, the apology doesn't specifically admit to guilt in the first place. It's just saying, I apologize to all like gamers everywhere and everyone personally affected. But are you apologizing for the situation? Are you apologizing for all of the fan backlash and all the attention that has happened because of this? Or are you apologizing for something you actually feel like you did wrong? In fact, in your video, You went on to say something at the very beginning I thought was telling, and it's like, I've learned a lot over the past few weeks or whatever, and I realized that YouTube is where I want to be. What that makes it sound like is you're saying the only mistake I made is that I went to IGN in the first place. That's not admitting to actual mistakes. That's admitting, hey, if I never went to IGN, maybe I wouldn't have been caught on this for many, many years. You still would have been caught eventually. I'm just letting you know you had plagiarized content on your YouTube channel. The bigger you got, the harder it was going to be to hide the fact that you plagiarized. People had called you out for plagiarism in the past, but it was more like a whisper in the wind to you because you were a small-time YouTuber. These other outlets might have been bigger, but they didn't really care enough because, hey, you're a small-time YouTuber. But yeah, people are all going to care now, and everything you do is going to be under a close scrutiny. Now, I want to say a couple things. One, if you're going to continue to make YouTube videos, you need to stop using the word review. I'm sorry, you talked about I'm reviewing this product, this Bluetooth product. You didn't really review it. I want to be very clear about this in your video. You didn't review it. You explained what the product is, what the product does, and then said one useful thing in the review, and that was that the microphone that you plug into the Switch has issues because it picks up the rumble in Fortnite or whatever. You explained that, but that's the only part of it that was an actual review. You didn't explain how the pairing process works, how this can have USB Bluetooth audio coming from the bottom when it also is having a mic plugged into the headphone jack, because when I do that on my end, it leads to the Switch just defaulting to the headphone jack being a headset, so the USB doesn't actually work. So how does that work? How did they get around that? Did you do the research to figure out how this particular item works around those things? And instead of just giving me a list of features, can you actually explain how many devices can you pair multiple devices to it at once? How well does it work? Can you show the range? You said you listed the range that is available in the thing, but you never tested that range to see if, yeah, 10 meters, can you actually get a good connection at 9 meters out, at 9.5 meters out? Or is the connection really fading and it's not really a full 10 meters? There's a lot of things you can do in these product reviews that actually are properly reviewing the product and not just advertising that the product exists, which is what that video felt like. This is why I need you to drop the review mantra. I don't know, and nobody can trust that you honestly know how to properly review a product. Whether it's a game or an accessory. Drop review from the name and thumbnails of what you're doing. Stop trying to be a product reviewer. You could just say, I want to talk about this new Bluetooth device for Nintendo Switch. Done. Then you're just doing what looks like an advertisement, but it's more acceptable because it's not a review. You're not actually critically reviewing something. Same if you do game reviews again or whatever. Like, don't review, do impression videos. There's a big difference between an impression video and a review. A review is giving something like a definitive stance on what that game is. An impression video just means this is what I think about the game right now, but I haven't finished it and there's other things that could happen that can change my mind on this game. And that's just my general tip to you. You will avoid a lot of the backlash if you stop reviewing anything. I know you might love doing that kind of stuff, but even in your latest video, it's not a review. I'm sorry, it's just not a review. There's hardly any critical thought process put into it, hardly any testing put into it, just a bunch of B-roll footage as you explain all the features of it. And that part's fine. Have your B-roll footage and explaining the features, but then get into the actual testing of the product and the explanation of the various issues people have with other Bluetooth devices in comparison, and you didn't do any of that. And I don't know if it's just because you don't know how to do any of that or you don't understand what a critical review is. So that's like, don't do reviews. That being said, you need to address this. You need to contact Jason Schreier. You need to get an interview done if you don't want to do it on your channel, and you need to answer the hard questions. If you can't talk about IGN, there's plenty of other stuff you plagiarized that I'm sure Jason Schreier is more than willing to ask you questions about and dig into your thought process behind it. And I'm telling you this because it's important to have context for why you don't think you did something wrong. Even if today you stand by your morals and you're like, I did not do something wrong, but you've never had that conversation publicly anywhere about this stuff and about your thought process behind it, no one's ever going to understand it. You see, this is a really weird example, but Shane Dawson did a recent video series on Jake Paul, and this doesn't mean that you need to like Jake Paul. I still don't like Jake Paul's content and all that stuff, but it provided context behind why this 21-year-old, essentially a kid, does what he does and manipulates kids and blah, blah, all this. Like, you got to find out behind the scenes a bunch of things about him that we would have never found out otherwise if he did not get on camera and basically have his entire life dug into by Shane Dawson. Stuff he didn't want to talk about, throwing his parents under the bus, his brother under the bus, all this stuff that is really, really nasty, really bad stuff, or failures in parenting. He didn't really want to address all that stuff because he doesn't want anyone to get hurt by what he's doing. It's easier for him, emotionally, to just have everyone hate him instead of hate on the people that are around him. And again, it humanized him. And Filip, you need that humanizing moment for your second chance, for your redemption, for your ability to rise like a phoenix from the ashes and still have that highly successful YouTube channel, that, a YouTube channel that's gaining, dozens, if not hundreds of new subs a day, because you have amazing talent. You are an excellent presenter of information. You are an excellent video editor. These are two things you do very, very well, but you're not a very good researcher. You're not a very good original content creator, I would say, and you're not a very good reviewer in terms of the actual reviews, but you're a good presenter and you're a good video editor. So I could suggest to you a few things. Instead of doing reviews, I know this might be like a left turn for you, cover news. You're not going to get yelled at for covering news, especially as long as you source that news. You're not going to be in any big trouble there. You could present information and do awesome, amazing edits around that. And I think that actually plays better into your talents in the first place. And beyond that, if you do ever get back into reviews, it has to be after you've redeemed yourself. You have not redeemed yourself. No amount of YouTube videos you release from now into infinity redeems yourself for what you did in plagiarizing content. You need to come out and talk about why you think it's okay, and maybe have Jason Schreier even explain to you the way that plagiarism works that maybe you're not thinking, where you might come have that, like Jake Paul did in the final episode of the Mind of Jake Paul series, that coming to realization moment that he had on his promoting of merch to kids, and how he defended it vehemently that I am not manipulating kids, and he was, but he couldn't see how it was manipulation until Shane talked to him about it. And if you can't see how what you did was plagiarism, then maybe talking to someone in the industry, a professional, can help you open your eyes to what plagiarism is and make you realize, you know what, you're right, I did plagiarize. And those are the words people want to hear come out of your mouth. They want to hear you admitting, I did something wrong. I did plagiarize this content. And I am very, very regretful of that fact and sorry that I didn't realize it. And in having those interviews, having those come to realization moments, having you become humanized, it'll help you move forward to continue to make content, even if you don't want to listen to me on not doing reviews anymore. You need to have a human moment here. Right now, it feels robotic. It feels like you're just being political. You can't be political at a time like this. You need to be human. You're not running for office. You're running for popular opinion to rebuild a career for yourself here on YouTube. And I firmly believe to do that successfully, you need to cop to what you did. You need to talk to an independent person about it and have some public record of this conversation, whether it's on a podcast or an interview. And more importantly than that, you need to be able to admit to yourself that what you did was wrong. Not wrong because it hurt people, but wrong because it was just wrong. Right? Right now, you're just apologizing for people being hurt, but you're not apologizing for what you did to hurt them, what you did to bring a bad name onto YouTubers like me. And until you do that, I can't just forgive you and be all cool with this second chance just because you're really good at video editing and presenting information. Like, yeah, you have talent. You admittedly have talent I don't have. But you've also brought shame upon YouTubers like me and made YouTubers like me look bad to people who aren't part of this community. And until you actually own up to your mistakes, I can't just forgive you for it. I'm sorry. And I don't even know you personally, and I don't want ill will, and I don't want the internet to hate you. But until you actually admit to things, that's what you're going to get. Anyways, folks, I'm Nathaniel Rufflegents from Nintendo Prime, and if you like the video, you know what to do, and if you dislike the video, it's fine. Dislike the video. I don't like doing videos like this very often, but it was a developing situation. I thought I was done with it, and then he came back. I didn't think we'd see him for like a year, and he apologized in maybe the most non-committed to doing anything wrong way I could think of. All right, I'll catch all of you guys in the next one.